So near enough all of the teams have confirmed their drivers for the 2021 season, and we can see the fresh driver lineups that will battle it out for the year. I thought I'd rank the partnerships and determine which team has the best lineup. My name's Addy, and this is Behind the Drive. Before I get into it, if you do enjoy this video, please consider subscribing to Behind the Drive and leaving the video a like. It massively supports the channel. I've got loads more F1 opinion content to come in preparation for the 2021 season and beyond, so please stay tuned. Number 10, Haas. In at number 10 is Haas, with Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. Taking on two rookies for the Haas team represents just how much of a rebuild situation that the team is currently in. Gunther Steiner has already declared that he's not exactly optimistic for the 2021 season. In terms of the drivers, Mick Schumacher definitely deserves his F1 seat after an impressive Formula 2 title winning campaign. He was always guaranteed a seat in F1 should he finish in the top 3 given his Ferrari Academy ties. But nonetheless, he's still a rookie and I expect him to struggle in a poor car for 2021. Typically, Schumacher has not done well in his junior disciplines in the first season, to then significantly improve in the second. There's no guarantees that this trend will continue, but I think it will be a development year for Mick. As for Mazepin, well, the less said about this guy the better. His antics on and off track have been fairly shocking in recent times, and in my opinion he has no business being in the top tier of motorsport. He's paid his way into the team, and if that's what Haas needed to survive, then so be it. But I don't think he's up to scratch. So I predict the Haas drivers to struggle, hence they are the worst driver pairing for me. Number 9, Alfa Romeo. Next up, in 9th, we've got Alfa Romeo. For me, by keeping the status quo of Antonio Giovinazzi and Kimi Raikkonen, the team isn't really going to improve for 2021. In Kimi Raikkonen, you have a steady and consistent driver, as he will always deliver solid performances no matter what car he's in. At times in 2020 I felt like Kimi was losing his desire to race in Formula 1, but the Finn invoked his 1-year contract extension to stay for another year. I don't expect spectacular things from Kimi, but he's definitely a safe pair of hands for the team. I expected Giovinazzi to be replacing the Ferrari seat at Alfa Romeo by Callum Ilott, but at the same time the Italian driver has definitely made improvements in 2020 and was much more competitive in his second season, as he ended up on equal points with Kimi and with similar performances in qualifying. So overall, for me, a driver lineup that isn't spectacular. They work well together, but I think a shake-up for 2022 will be needed for Alfa Romeo. Number 8, Williams. 2021 is an important year for the Williams team, the final year with George Russell under contract, and the first full season with the new owners and leadership team. With an unchanged driver lineup for the upcoming season, they're well placed to take another step forward this year. George Russell is undoubtedly a top tier driver. If his performances in the Williams last season weren't enough to convince you of that, then his one-off Mercedes performance should have done. He's done a great job for Williams, and his qualifying has been outstanding as he finds a way to outperform his car each week. I think he'll do well once again this season, and continue to be the team leader ready to take his first points in the Williams car. Latifi's heading into his second season, and while he's definitely not the best driver that could be in that seat, he isn't awful. He had a good debut season with good race performances, meaning he wasn't lagging behind the pack too much. I'm sure he'll improve going into his second year and find ways to move up the order. Overall, the reason the driver lineup isn't below the Alfa Romeo one is because of George Russell. It'll be interesting to see what happens now that Williams have moved away from being an independent team and are starting to value performance over independence. Number 7, AlphaTauri. Next up is AlphaTauri, with the changed driver lineup of Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda. It's an important year as Tsunoda is the next young Red Bull driver to graduate into Formula 1. I think his driver lineup is one of the most exciting on the grid, as there's two young drivers who'll be keen to prove themselves, but for different reasons. Leading the team will be Pierre Gasly, as he enters his 4th full season in Formula 1, his 3rd with AlphaTauri. After an incredible season last year with his maiden victory and consistently beating his teammate Daniel Kvyat, 2021 is a year for Gasly to continue to prove himself and try to get himself a drive at another team for 2022. Realistically, his days in Red Bull seats are numbered, but his stock in the sport is high right now, so he'll need to perform well to keep that up. As for the rookie, Yuki Tsunoda, well, he's had an impressive campaign in Formula 2 to finish 3rd in a tough field and in his rookie year. He was the obvious choice to make the move up into the AlphaTauri seat. Last year, his season was characterised by rapidly learning from mistakes and impressing with his speed. Based on his rapid rise to the pinnacle of motorsport, I expect he'll impress once again and make his mark on the F1 grid. But nonetheless, he is still a rookie, and that may come with some of those naive errors that could arise from his inexperience. An exciting lineup and quite a strong one, but not quite as strong as some of the others. Number 6, Alpine. Alpine up next as they replace Daniel Ricciardo with Fernando Alonso, ensuring the team continues to have a big name on the grid. But for me, I think the team has had a downgrade on its driver lineup compared to 2020. Let's start with the 39-year-old Fernando Alonso. He's returning to Formula 1 after 2 years out of the sport, and despite somehow being allowed to take part in the Young Drivers Test in Abu Dhabi, I expect it may take him some time to get back up to speed. You also have to ask the question as to whether he will be as fast as he's been in the past. Esteban Ocon has a critical year. After a tough season in which he was decidedly beaten by his teammate last year, his reputation in the sport has taken a hit. Beating Fernando Alonso would go a long way to repairing his reputation and improving his prospects in Formula 1. I think it's a year of rebuilding for Alpine, hence the name change, as I explain in the tagged video, and I expect Alpine can learn from the mistakes that Renault have made in the past. Number 5, Aston Martin. Aston Martin take 5th place for me. Bringing in Vettel is a statement move for the team and takes a driver away from the old school big 3 teams. I think it could be a pretty feisty driver lineup at times next year, but both drivers do have points to prove. Vettel comes to the team with a damaged reputation despite being a 4-time world champion after being decidedly beaten by Charles Leclerc at Ferrari over 2 seasons. The German will likely have a faster car than he did in 2020 as he drives a car with the Mercedes power unit for the first time. I think he'll have a good season for Aston Martin as the team continues to build and grow. I expect Vettel will fill Perez's shoes quite well for next year and perform well outside of that tough Ferrari environment. Lance Stroll's had a bit of a coming of age for me in 2020 as he improved on his previous performances in Formula 1. I think he's definitely improved over time and earned his spot on the grid. Whether he's the best pick for the team is near enough irrelevant by this point as he's guaranteed that seat. But I expect a good 2021 season for Stroll, building on 2020. I think, like many teams, Aston Martin will focus more on the 2022 regulations during this season. If they can have a similar season to 2020, then 2021 will be a good one once again. Number 4, McLaren. McLaren have the 4th best driver lineup for me, with the team bringing in the talented replacement for the outgoing Carlos Sainz in Daniel Ricciardo. I think they've got one of the most exciting pairings on the grid, and a couple of drivers that I expect will have a great relationship off track. Daniel Ricciardo gave the Renault team the ultimate vote of no confidence after making the switch to McLaren for 2021. I expected to build on his impressive 2020 in a stronger car that we mustn't forget has a Mercedes engine in the back for next year. I think Ricciardo will do well and lead the team to continue that fight at the front of the grid and potentially go for that 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship once again. Lando Norris continues to impress as he develops through Formula 1 and is still one of the youngest drivers on the grid. His performances last year were great, with some impressive last lap action. He was very closely matched with Carlos Sainz in 2020, and I expect he'll continue to deliver for McLaren in 2021. I think McLaren have done well to have maintained the quality of their driver lineup, given they lost Carlos Sainz this year. It seems like some of the challenges the team have faced over the last 4 or 5 years are behind them, and I expect a stronger year once again. Number 3, Mercedes. I've assumed that Hamilton will re-sign for Mercedes, and I've put the team in 3rd in the list, which may be slightly controversial given the partnership has worked so well over the last 4 seasons, providing 4 Constructors' Championships. But for me, Valtteri Bottas has held the team back from unleashing its true dominant potential. Lewis Hamilton is probably the best driver on the grid in 2021. He's in an impressive form once again off the back of his 7th World Championship victory, and is almost certainly going to win another one this year. I do think that part of this dominance has been helped by the fact that he's had a good wingman in Valtteri Bottas, who realistically cannot beat him across the season. I think Bottas has done enough for the team over the last few years, but if there was to be an organised competitor that can challenge Mercedes for the championship with 2 drivers from the start of the season, then I think Bottas could let the team down. For example, during 2020 when Hamilton went off into the distance to win, Bottas would often be struggling behind Max Verstappen. And I think that with Red Bull changing their driver lineup for 2021 to bring in Perez, there could be two drivers competing for that spot and putting that pressure on Valtteri. So a great driver pairing, but I think Bottas's days are numbered in the German team, particularly after George Russell's impressive outing at the Sakhir Grand Prix last year. Number 2, Red Bull. Red Bull have really jumped up on this list for me in 2021. They've taken a driver from outside of their driver academy for the first time since bringing in Mark Webber in 2007, after replacing Alex Albon with Sergio Perez at the end of the season. But it's Max Verstappen who will continue to lead the team as he moves on to his 4th teammate at Red Bull. His 2020 season was mighty as he was the lone driver taking the fight to the Mercedes team at the front of the pack. The fact that he managed to end the season with the same number of wins as Valtteri Bottas is very impressive. Sergio Perez has the best opportunity of his career so far, off the back of a season that he achieved his maiden victory after 190 Grand Prix starts. I expect he'll perform better than Gasly and Albon have done in that seat over the last couple of years, as he is that much more experienced. The move by Red Bull also indicates that their problems have been from within, as they promoted drivers too early. I don't expect Perez to beat Verstappen, but I expect he'll do the job of taking the fight towards Bottas. I see the 2021 season as a year of opportunity for Red Bull to take the fight to Mercedes ahead of them. Given the regulations are relatively stable for the next year, and we're less likely to see significant development this season, I think that Red Bull actually have a shot at providing good competition for the championships next year. Number 1, Ferrari. And that leaves us with Ferrari in at number 1 as having the best driver lineup, despite the team finishing in 7th position in the Constructors' Championship last year. The new lineup of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz is unparalleled for me, as both drivers have the potential to outperform their car. Charles Leclerc was one of my drivers of the season last year, and he's consistently beat his teammate and outperformed that dreadful Ferrari car. To find a way to compete for the best of the rest spot across the whole season was impressive, given his car could not compete at the power limited circuits. 2021 will be a year for Charles to continue and reassert his first driver position at the team with his new teammate. And Carlos Sainz will want to come into the Ferrari team and show that he can do a better job than Sebastian Vettel. But I'm sure he'll also want to compete with Charles Leclerc and show that he's deserving of that F1 seat. Even though he's only just been brought into the team, I expect he'll fear his seat is already under threat, given Mick Schumacher is hotly tipped to be going for that seat in 2023. But overall, I see Ferrari as the best driver lineup for 2021. They now have the best driver pairing, and their move, whilst it was criticised at the time, turned out to probably be the right thing to do. It's a rebuild job for the team, but I think they have the drivers to do it. So that's my ranked driver pairings for 2021. Let me know of what you think of my order in the comments and who you'd change and why. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe for more F1 opinion content in the future.